welcome to the 20k leveling guide, one of the first video guides for Auctioneer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through Auctioneer, give you a bit of background to it, and then go into a bit more detail about how I buy and when I say out sell, how I do sell. So the first thing to know about Auctioneer is if you look at the cursed stats on it, it's had over 14 million downloads. It normally has around 3,500 downloads a day. So yes, we know there's only 11 million subscriptions, so that total number of downloads isn't actually the total number of users. There's been 6 major editions of Auctioneer, so you bring it down and there's still a massive amount of users for Auctioneer. Now, the thing about Auctioneer is not many people use Auctioneer properly. Most people, including a lot of my good friends, will come into Auctioneer, open up the appraiser tab, hit the refresh button, find the cheapest price and post it. What that's guaranteed to do for you is it's guaranteed to normally sell that item, but it's not going to get you the best price, and this is one of the major differences of where you're going to make gold and they're going to lose out on gold because you're going to sell intelligently. I'm going to come on to later on about how to sell items using Trade Skill Master, but for now I'm just going to focus on Auctioneer. So that's sort of one of the main types of user, they just post that item. So one of the things I always go on about is don't buy out the lowest priced item. And the reason why this is if you go out and buy the lowest priced item, when the next person comes along that uses Auctioneer just to sell their items, posts up, it's not going to be there. That item that you've bought out has pushed the market back up. But what I want to do now is take you into the tooltips, have a look at all the different bits of information Auctioneer actually offers, because one of the main things I use Auctioneer for is understanding how the market's moving and understanding how that item's moving. So I just need to shrink the UI size a little bit on that so I can actually get everything in the frame for you. There you go. But first things we want to do is go in and look at the tooltips, and it's into the stat module that we want to go into. I have most of these ticked, so you've got sales, you've got the simple, you've got your standard deviation, you've got your wow econ. I don't bother with the item level, so I'm not really interested in seeing what's going on there. But now we've got that set up, let's actually go and have a look at an item and see how the stats are looking on it. Dreamless belts. I'll take you through the dreamless belts. The reason why, I'm a tailor, I make them, and when the Kata came out, I started selling them at 15,000 gold each. But unfortunately, the market has dropped off a lot since then. But they still sell, but a lot less than they did. So you can see from the dreamless belt there, if we actually have a look at the item and the stats there. The first thing to have a look at is the top one, it's the market price. So it's actually seen 144 of these. And the average market price, which is actually taken from the 3-day average, is currently around the 6,692, so close to the 7,000 mark. I know that's actually not a realistic selling point for them. They're more hitting around the 4,000 to 4,500 gold mark. But this is how the stats actually are averaging it out. You can then see the simple auction and the undercut. So the simple auction is that's saying if you just want to post it up just to keep it on the auction house and hopefully sell it, that's what you want to be selling it at. So that's 5353 and 6692. So this is where it's using its data to come up with the price. The undercut price, which I was going to post under the cheapest one on the auction house, is 4,000 on the bid and 4675 on the buyout. I personally think that's a bit too high in this item, and I think you'd more realistically sell it around the 4.4 mark. But that's, once again, that's a really server dependent thing. You can also see then the moving price. So the price, whenever you list one of these items, the price does go up and down. And the moving price over the last few days has been 4,562. But the simple prices, as they break down, is also very interesting. How I use these is when I start putting items into groups in Trade Skill Master, when I'm looking to sell items in groups so it's efficiently posting them, how do you get that price of what you want to price the item at without pricing yourself too high and without then also pricing yourself at the bottom of the market and losing out? Well, here's the data. You can see it's seen a total of 146 of these over 39 days. So my data is quite old. That is running from the beginning of Cataclysm and before into Wrath of the Lich King. And you can see over the last 14 days how the market has dropped off. The 14-day average, how you get any of these averages is you take all of the items that have been listed on the auction house, so all the Dreamless belts that have been listed on the auction house in the last 14 days, you add that total number together and then you divide it by the number that have been listed, and it gives you your average price. So the 14-day average is sitting at 8,000 gold. So I know that's very unrealistic, but what we've seen is as more people have power leveled their crafts up, these items have started to drop. You haven't got the same rush as you had at the beginning, so they're starting to drop and the market's starting to hit a level place. The 7-day average, once you can now see it's a much more realistic to where we are today. Price is sitting at just over 5,500 gold, and then the 3-day average coming down to that 4,768. And then the average medium buyout, which is 4,468. So as I said before, that's what I think a realistic price for this item is. And then also shows you today's buyout as well, which is 4,675. We're on the weekend. I'm expecting that to drop off a bit further as well. Then the other bit as well down the bottom, standard deviation. I'm not a fan of standard deviation. It's always a awkward one to explain, but very simply, what that's showing you is the mean price, which is as such the average price, the nominalised price, which is sort of a rationalised price between the mean and the standard deviation, and then the standard deviation, how much that price normally fluctuates away from that mean price. How much does it go up by? How much does it go down by? They're very useful bits of information to know, because you can see where that market's moving and where to actually place this item. So if you are on a high value, sort of high turnover server, with an item like this, you can see from that data that you're going to sell it at 4,400 gold. But if there's not a massive volume of that on, this is when you've got to use the data and come up with a sensible price. A sensible price for this, in my view, would be close to the 5 grand mark, and you can see that yes, we know it's going to sell at the 4,400, but the price today is sitting at sort of the 4.7, and as it's over the weekend, if there isn't a massive volume being listed on the market, put it up at 5, and then hope. And the idea is you're selling it at a realistic price, and as people buy out the ones below, your item comes in. It normally works better with items like gems and very high volume items, but it's a good example to look at. Right, so that's really about the tooltips and how to use the tooltips, and I will come back to them when we look at the TSM as well. But the next bit is the search functions. Do you use your search functions? I've already done the search, because the searches can take a lot of time. This is why you may notice I'm in Shattrath rather than someone like Stormwind or Orgrimmar, because it takes so much more time to run it in the major hubs. So the first one I always like to look at is the snatch list. You've got to build a snatch list, and I will show you how to use a snatch list in TSM as well. But I've done the search, and you can see my snatch list there. So I hit the search button, and it's pulling up everything that's underneath my thresholds. To be fair, I need to update my snatch list, but if we said that, we can then see what the profit is. As we can see at the top, there's a schematic lifelike mechanical toad as being the buyout's 2,700. I've already got one up on the auction house at the moment, so I'm not going to build another one, but it's very useful to be able to see this information. You can see also recipe save it, Deviant Delight. I still haven't removed that from my snatch list. I know I should be. And then other ones like Formula, Enchant, Winter's Might, and then as you just go down some more, it's like Formula Enchant, Spell Power as well. That's now come down in price because a lot more people are now running things like Molten Core. But once again, it's very useful to have these on your snatch list at quite a high threshold, so you can see that if an item appears, then you can see who's selling it, and then if you want to snatch that item out as well. The next one, vendor. It always amazes me how much you can actually find on this vendor listing. There you go, immediately we've found icy dragon scales. You can see that using the vendor resale tab, it's not necessarily going to make you a massive amount of profit. Sometimes it does, but a lot of them you can buy up very quickly and just turn into a very quick profit because people are listing under the vendor resale mark. Next one, resale. I'm a very big fan of the resale one, and my big tip here is bid. As you can see, you can make a lot of profit. So some of this data you have to be careful looking at the resale tab, because sometimes the data is old. People have been playing with the market. They list an item for 99,999 gold, and all it does is it skews the market and pushes the price up way above what it actually is. But what I like to do here is I will A to Z the bids, so I get the lowest bids, and I'll just go along and bid on all of these items. I normally go up to sort of under 2 gold and then resell them. As you can see, there's all sorts of things. There's enchants, holiday spices, scrolls of enchanting. There's some items that will be able to DE. More various scrolls, and once again, this can produce quite a long list of items, and it's just I go through, bid a lot of this, and then I'll just be reselling this, just cycling this through, and this is a very good source of passive income. I know I like to talk about passive income and reactive income, but if you can just pop on, spend 10 minutes going through this, bidding a bunch of items, and then forget about them, it's going to give you a great source of passive income here. Right, so the next thing I want to look at is the DE conversions. You need to install Enchantrix, which I haven't loaded yet. So what you just do, just pop into your add-ons, and when it comes down to Enchantrix, just hit the load button, and that'll load up for us, and then we can go back in there and have a look at the search functions here. So what it shows you, for example, disenchant, you can have a search through there, and if you are an enchanter, it will recommend all of the items that you can buy out to disenchant. The converter function as well, this is once another kind of great function. It's very simply, if you can split things like motes of water down, you can split some of the greater essences as well, and all you can do is you just split them up and convert them and then resell them, as once again people don't pay attention to the items that actually are at base cost. Next one, the arbitrage. This is cross-faction trading. Do a scan on the Horde side, do a scan on the Alliance side, and then this will recommend what items you can buy, and then flip over to the other side and make profit from. So that's the search functions, and getting used to those and using those is a great one. One of my favourite ones as well, which I haven't even covered yet, is the general functions. If you're searching through the auction house and you suddenly notice there's one seller offering a massive amount of items for sale, then what you can actually do here,